Jai Shri Ram, everybody. So we are today going to read about the path to Moksha and what is known as the Moksha Yajna by Raja Harishchandra. So even before we get started on that, we will look at, we had in the group also identified what are those three paths towards self-realization. So the first path is self-surrender to God, which is for bhakti. But that's hard to do for most people because it sounds easy, but it is not. So it means that you have no life, will or desire of your own. You surrender completely and totally everything to God. Every part of your life goes to God. And you say, this is not my will, but yours. That is devotion, bhakti. Again, it sounds easy to some people, but it's not when you get into it, because it means every decision that you have to make is left up to God. You give your mind to God totally, completely, and absolutely, and that leads to self-realization. So one of the things that was discussed actually in the last session was that what is bhakti? We say bhakti is easy, but then does bhakti constitute coming here, doing the bhajans and then going back? Or they say bhakti becomes very ritualistic, right?
Yeah.
If ritualistic is associated with bhakti, then all our pujaris should have attained become self-realized masters and attained enlightenment, moksha, correct? So what is it that is true bhakti? So there is a difference between praying to God and loving God. So that love for God is different. Where you cry in the love for God, you ask only for bhakti from Him, nothing else. So in that is the thing. They say there is a difference between भगवान की पूजा करना और भगवान को चाहना. So you associate some emotion with God, which is you look at Him as your Guru, you look at Hanumanta as Guru and something else you said, right? Once I always address him as Hanumanta, a friend, yeah. So like that, where you are, you're so deep in His love that you actually identify Him as a family member and you love Him like that, and His love is so overwhelming for you that you keep crying in His love. So that is one of the this thing that leads to it, but even that is not enough. You have to surpass that also, and there is complete surrender, complete will, where you say that I see God as I see every other reality, right? It becomes so deep. That is when it truly becomes, you lose all your four mental bodies to Him. So there is no intellect, no intelligence, no chitta, no samskara. Everything belongs to God. That becomes a path towards self-realization. Then the second one is, mindfulness, which we are talking about becoming the witness, watching yourself continuously, where we are always talking about self-awareness, right? Watching your thoughts. We are saying who is the asura or who is the sura or asura who is hijacking us. And if we are feeling those emotions, who is feeling those emotions? No, that will be self-inquiry. This one is all about detaching yourself from the reality, where you are looking at only saying, where you are only looking at, this thing is all about how much am I realizing that this is an illusion. So if it is an illusion, so the last few sessions we were talking about how this is all a dream. So you say that when you are dreaming, you feel, when you wake up from the dream, sometimes the dreams are so real that when the dream is going on, you feel that, oh my God, this is, reality. Have you felt that? You are so tensed in your dream. But there is one part of you which knows that it is dreaming. Has it ever happened to you? You are so deep in your dream, you know that everything is happening, around you which is so real. It feels so real. You feel all those emotions. And remember, when you come out of your dream, you can only remember 10% of your dream, which means 90% you have lived there. That's why dreams are always discontinuous. You will never remember the full dream. You will remember portions of it, parts of it, which are very intense. After that, you'll forget how you came there, how you solved it, everything, right? So then, fantastic. So then, when you get up, you feel okay that you've come out of the dream. Similarly, they say you feel all these emotions in this world that is going on. So when you awaken, you realize that this is nothing but an illusion. So this is a path towards self-realization where enlightened masters are completely disassociated from everything that is happening around them, because they feel, I mean, the minute they awaken themselves, they realize that all this is an illusion, and so it is all a dream. To normal mere mortals, you will realize it only after death. You die, go back and say, oh my God, what was it? This was all a dream. This is nothing but a dream. So in this, you're saying, watching your thoughts, watching your actions, sitting in meditation and watching what goes on in your mind, not trying to change anything or correct anything, just observing, becoming the witness to your thoughts in meditation and to your actions in the waking state. Number 3 is the one that I advocate, which is self-inquiry. This is Ramana Maharishi's, because this is a Ramana Maharishi's disciple who's talking. It's Sir Albert Kama. Robert Adams, sorry. This is Sir Robert Adams. So he says, in self-inquiry, you ask yourself, to whom do these troubles come? To whom does this karma come? To whom does this suffering come? It comes to me. Well, what is me? I am me. Then who am I? From where did I come from? And following the I to its source. You can use any of these 3 methods, the one that suits you best. But by all means do something. Don't waste your life with frivolities. Work on yourself if you want to really become free. It doesn't mean that you have to give up going to movies or going to work or anything. You give up nothing. You just become aware of everything that you are doing. You become a conscious being. You become conscious of your actions. You become loving, compassionate, gentle to all. You stop watching out for number 1, self-importance. Most of us say, number 1, I am number 1. Forget it. That's how you suffer. That's ego. It's hard to understand when you give up your ego, but how can you have a better life? But you do. Try it and you will see. So I'll give you a story here. So Guru Nanak ji was 14 years old. When he became 14 years old, his father said it's time for him to initiate him in this business. He came from a very wealthy family where his parents were landlords and they did a lot of business. So he asked, he told Guru Nanak, saying, Nanak, go to the market. I'm going to give you some amount of money, a lot of money in those days, and say, I want you to do a trade which is profitable for you, and then come back to me. So he says, okay, and he keeps the money in his pocket. And then as he's going to the market, he comes upon a rishi who's hungry. So he feeds him, he uses all his money and gives him all the food for this thing, and whatever money is remaining, he gives it back to that rishi itself and says, here, keep it. And he comes back very happy. So his father asks, what have you done with the money? He says, I did a great trade. He says, was it profitable? He says, not only is it profitable in this life, but it will be profitable in my next coming lives also. He says, what nonsense, which trade is profitable in your next few lives? What did you do? And he says, this is what I did. So he holds his head and he says, Tumhara kuch nahi hoga. I'm going to send you off to a friend of mine who's very shrewd. He is supposed to be, he does a lot of trading. Okay, and he has his own grocery store, departmental stores and all that we say. And he gives a letter to his friend saying, my son is very innocent, please train him well, ensure that he becomes shrewd like you, otherwise he will not survive in this life. Nana goes to the grocery, his friend, his father's friend, gives the letter, he reads the letter, he understands what his friend, Nanak's father meant. So he tells him, fine. He calls his Munshi, and not his Munshi, what do you say, his manager. Tells his manager, take him under your wings and teach him business. Manager says, theek hai, takes him. And he says, fine, what do you know? He says, can you, if I give you this, can you manage the store? He says, I don't know how to manage the store. He says, if people come to you and, if they start giving you everything, can you do that? He says, no, I don't know what to do. He says, can you keep accounts? He says, no, I don't know how to keep accounts. Then what will you do? He says, you give me any menial work, I'll do it. He says, fine, do you know how to count? He says, yes, I know how to count. Great. That whenever somebody comes, I will tell you how much to give him. You have to give him that much of whatever commodity he asks. He says, okay. So the first guy comes and he says, give him 20, that pav they say, no, of rice. He says, give him 20. He says, okay. He takes it. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So when he is doing it, understand that he loves God so deeply that he is all the time in the smriti of God is going on. The chanting is going on, japa is going on in his mind. So they say he is drunk on the ocean of love. And he is counting 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Suddenly he gets this thing, 13. He's going on saying, what, mera kya hai? Sab tera hai, tera. He goes on, and then they say, and he starts crying, saying, tera. 14-year-old boy. He keeps crying, saying, tera. And he starts dancing, and tears are flowing as he's saying, tera. And he says, this thing sends him back saying, nothing will happen, please. Take your son back. He doesn't know how to do business. So that is the power of love, of God's love. So we'll come back to our, 12 minutes is over. Lord Hanuman talks about Raja Harishchandra and the Moksha Yajna. After completing the Arpanam for Yajman Kaljita, Baba Mathan motioned her for prasadam proceedings, only to find her in a state of trance, oblivious to what was happening around her. Baba Mathan smiled nervously as Lord Hanuman took 4 hurried steps towards Kaljita and put his warm hand on her forehead. Her body shook as though she was hit by a thunderlight. She struggled to stand on her feet, clambered her way towards Lord Hanuman and knelt down with her head bowed beseechingly. She did not utter a single word, but expressions on her face were that of a person begging for her life. Though there was no danger to her life at that moment, she was sitting at... Hold on. Yeah, this is the chapter. Sorry. She was sitting though there was no danger to her life at this moment, because she was sitting at the safest place in this mortal world, which is the holy feet of Lord Immortal Hanuman. Then what was she begging for? Lord Hanuman seemed to be aware of her thoughts. He was relaxingly smiling at her. The warmth of his smile finally melted the blockage in her throat and words spurted out. Oh Lord, I seek moksha. Liberation from this cruel trap of Maya. Take away everything from me and give me moksha. Very easy to say, right? If you find me eligible, I hold no attachment to my body. Yes, I am ready to give up my body right here. If you find me eligible enough to have this prasadam from you, then give me moksha, my Lord. I seek nothing else but moksha. Let us pray to and express our gratitude towards Kaljita. That is what I am here for, to give moksha to all of you. By the way, by way of imparting supreme knowledge to you, Lord Hanuman said warmly. Kaljita said at once, I do not seek supreme knowledge, Prabhu, I seek moksha. So knowledge is the harder way, right? Because you have to practice. We all have the knowledge of Sura, Asura, strings of time, and space and desires, everything. We know all of that, karma, desire. But it is so hard that it's going to take us, I don't know how many more lifetimes to achieve moksha. Lord, Prabhu, I seek moksha. There must be some faster and easier way to moksha for lesser. Her voice tailed away as soon as she noticed Baba Mathang frowning at her. Lord Hanuman politely said, yes, there is a faster way to moksha. It is called Moksha Yajna. But keep in mind, a soul can do this yajna only once in a lifetime. Are you sure you want to exhaust this option right now? And not keep it for the future. Kaljita glanced down at Baba for a moment and then turned her head up towards Lord Hanuman confidently and said, yes, Prabhu, I want to exercise this option right now. If I am eligible for this yajna, let it be held right away. Lord Hanuman warned, it is going to be more frightening than your worst nightmare, more painful than any pain you have ever suffered. But yes, it will be quick. The quickest way to moksha. Doubts erupted in Kaljita's mind. But the prospect of quick attainment of moksha eclipsed all doubts. She firmly replied, Prabhu, I am here, I am ready to bear any pain to get moksha quickly. No pain can be greater than having to live in this cruel world and in this cruel trap of Maya. Lord Hanuman gestured Baba Mathang to start the proceedings of the Moksha Yajna. Baba Mathang's eyes were moist for a reason known only to him and Lord Hanuman. Lord Hanuman's eyes met the moist eyes of Baba Mathang for a fraction of a second. That quick reassuring look from Lord Hanuman was enough to keep Baba from breaking into sobs. Oh Mathangs, we are ready to observe Moksha Yajna in a short while. Lord Hanuman declared, as I already told you, a soul can opt for this yajna only once in a lifetime. Kaljita is determined to exhaust her option right away. I must inform you that this yajna cannot be left uncompleted. If Kaljita's soul fails to take off, we must have another soul at standby who would volunteer to take off in order to complete the yajna. Baba Mathang has agreed to volunteer for the same. Lord Hanuman said these words so indifferently that no one but a young man called Urva comprehended the gravity of the situation. Chances of Kaljita getting moksha were almost none, leaving Baba Mathang with no other option but to depart from this mortal world in order to complete the yajna. Now Urva understood why Baba's eyes were moist. He was going to depart his beloveds. He was going to die. No, Urva leapt to his feet and shouted, unaware of himself, this cannot happen. I will not let this happen. This yajna must stop. Even though he had put all his energy in shouting his heart out, nobody seemed to hear him. He realized that he had been transported into a sort of nightmare. He wanted to run, but his feet were glued to the ground. He was screaming, but his voice was not reaching even to his own ears. The Moksha Yajna had started. Like Urva, the entire cluster of younger Mathans was insulated from the proceedings in such a way that they could only watch what was happening and not participate in it. This cluster included all the Mathans who were either not born or too young to get supreme knowledge from Lord Hanuman when he had come 41 years ago. They were not eligible enough to participate in the Yajna. Kaljita, being the Yajman, was an exception. She was standing 12 steps away from Lord Hanuman, her head bowed in reverence. Raise your head and look into my eyes, Kaljita, Lord Hanuman said as the proceedings of the Moksha Yajna started. Two opposite forces will come into play shortly. One force will pull your soul towards me, and the other force will do all it can to keep your soul inside your body. One force will pull you away from this illusion of space and time, while the other force will intensify the illusion so as to keep you in it. One force will help your soul take off for moksha, and the other force will try to clutch you harder into the slavery of Maya. I understand, Lord, Kaljita stammered, trying hard to keep her head straight and harder to keep her gaze fixed at the eyes of Lord Hanuman. The brown, watery eyes where she could feel a mysterious storm rising. You have to promise me, Kaljita, that you will believe no one but me. You won't trust anything, no matter how genuine and real it feels. You must hold on to the realization that only two things here are real, your soul and me. Everything else is a potential trap. I understand, Lord, Kaljita said anxiously. There is a distance of 12 steps between your soul and mine, and me. With every step your soul takes towards me, the Maya will intensify its illusion. Your soul will feel a stronger urge to go back into your body. You have to muster up all your soul's power to defeat that urge. Dismiss everything as a bad dream and keep moving forward. How hard can it be, right? We can all do it, we feel, right? Lord Hanuman said forcefully. When Lord Hanuman imparted enough instructions to Kaljita, he closed his eyes. Kaljita saw a point of pure white light emerging between his eyes. It grew into a wave and advanced towards her. Before she could gasp in astonishment, she was gripped by a chilling wave of light. Her body became a living statue, glittering in pure white light, unable to do anything, even unable to blink. When Lord Hanuman opened his eyes, an unknown force started to pull something out of Kaljita. When a figure of pure white light ejected from Kaljita's frozen body and moved a step forward. This was her soul, successfully separated from her body. The body remained where it was, frozen, and the soul advanced. When her soul took one step away from her body, scary things started to happen in the Hanumandal. She saw a Brahmana sharpening a large axe on a stone. A sacrificial altar was being fixed next to the stone. She could see all this happening without moving her eyes. A thought descended from somewhere. Are they going to sacrifice my body at that altar? Will it be painful? But I, the soul, is separated from the body. How does it matter to me what they do with my body? This thought seemed artificial as compared to another thought which was urging her to go back into the body and save it. A battle ensued between these two thoughts. A third thought emerged as a mediator. This may be just an illusion. How can they do this horrible act in the presence of Lord Hanuman? It can't be true. Just wait and watch. The unknown force pulled her soul one more step towards Lord Hanuman. As she took this step, she saw a child being brought inside the Hanumandal. It was her child, unusually calm. His hands were tied behind his body. He looked He looked inquiringly at her as he passed towards the sacrificial altar. She was startled. Are you going to sacrifice my child? She allowed no contradictory or consolatory thought this time. She screamed, "No, stop, stop, I withdraw. I need no moksha, stop." But her scream was just an illusion. Her screaming instrument, her body was 2 steps away from her, completely frozen. How could she scream without the instrument? She gave herself to the opposite force which was pulling her towards her body. She wanted to go back into her body immediately and scream and bring her son into the safety of her arms. Lord Hanuman had not given up yet. He spoke, "Kaljita, I had warned you of the nightmare beforehand. Don't succumb to it. It is just a bad dream. Nobody is sacrificing your son. How can you even believe that I would allow such a horrible act to happen in my presence? Trust me and move forward. Only you and me here are real. Everything else is an illusion. Maya is at work." Lord Hanuman's words were drowned by loud, shrill cries of a child, the child of Kaljita, who had now realized that he was going to be killed. A Brahmana was ready with an axe, with a large axe, as two other Brahmanas were fixing the neck of the child at the sacrificial altar. Lord Hanuman observed a slight movement in the frozen body of Kaljita. Kind of movements generally experienced while being in a horrible dream. Ignore it like a bad dream, Lord Hanuman roared. Do you listen to me? This is an illusion. I promise nothing will happen to your child. Kaljita's soul was being torn apart by cries of her child. Her faith in Lord Hanuman, the only thing which was holding her soul together, was evaporating fast. She wanted to say sorry to him and rush back to her body. She was instinctively finding some excuse to run away. She finally did. She thought, if it is all an illusion, make it stop, Prabhu. Make it stop right now. She could not speak this thought out, but it reached Lord Hanuman nonetheless. He replied, "This is Moksha Yajna, Kaljita. You have to make a choice. Choose either me or the illusion." The Brahmana had raised the axe to strike. She shouted, "I choose my son." This time her shout found a way through her body. Everyone heard her shouting. Things around her immediately changed. There was no sacrifice taking place. The Brahmanas were calmly chanting hymns while Baba Mathang was sitting alert with moist eyes. Brahmanas were She realized that it was all just a nightmare. She broke down. "I failed you, my lord. Please forgive me. I failed you." Lord Hanuman took a deep breath and said in a normal voice, "May we proceed to end the yajna, Baba Mathang?" Baba Mathang finally stood up slowly, his eyes fixed at Urva. A tear rolled from his rugged face as he took the position of Yajman, exactly 12 steps away from Lord Hanuman. Urva was the only one among the younger Mathangs who had figured out that Baba's soul was going to depart. He was shouting as loud as he could, only to realize that he was insulated from the yajna proceedings. His cries were not reaching the other side. Lord Hanuman closed his eyes and invoked all the force at his command to pull Baba's soul out of his body. A figure of white light stepped out of Baba's body. Maya played its part. A figure of white light stepped out of Baba's body. Maya played its part. With every step of Baba's soul, his nightmare worsened. He saw Urva being sacrificed and Mathang tradition being destroyed. That was something that's nearest to him, right? His soul But his faith in Lord Hanuman won over the nightmare. His soul completed all the 12 steps towards Hanuman and flew away. A figure of white light could be seen exiting the Hanumandal. Almost at the same time, another figure of light entered the Hanumandal. It was a soul from Vishnu Loka which had descended specially to take the place of Baba's soul. It occupied Baba's frozen body and Baba came back to life. The Moksha Yajna ended. Baba Mathan's soul had got moksha, but Baba's body didn't die, contrary to Urva's fears. Instead, a visitor soul from Vishnu Loka resumed life as Baba Matham. None of the younger Mathans noticed this except Urva. Baba Matham came back to his assigned place near the Arpanam altar. Yajman Kaljita was sobbing at her assigned place. Lord Hanuman glanced at her for a moment and addressed the entire assembly. "O Baba, O Mathans, you should all be grateful to Kaljita. Her dare has resulted in a very important realization in all of you that shortcuts to moksha don't work. You must therefore earnestly follow the path of supreme knowledge which you are following and not be distracted by the ideas of the shortcut." As intended, Kaljita felt relieved on hearing these words. But there was still a guilt in her voice as she spoke. "Oh Lord, the Maya had gripped me. I didn't trust you. I am ashamed of that my faith in you is so weak. I am ashamed of myself, Prabhu." She again broke into sobs. Lord Hanuman said consolingly, "O Kaljita, not only human beings, but all beings have the strongest attachment with their children. When one sees their child being tortured before their eyes, they react instinctively. Faith and everything else flies out of the scene. You were no exception. Only the enlightened souls can get moksha through Moksha Yajna. Though Rishi Vishwamitra had designed this Yajna with very high hopes to help the lower existence of humans. Prabhu, did Rishi Vishwamitra continue with his experiments even after the Trishanku fiasco? We will read about the Trishanku fiasco in one of the chapters. It's explained. A young Mathan girl called Urmi asked surprisingly. Let us express our gratitude towards Mathan Urmi. You know, this reminds me of Guru Arjan. If you have you all read about the Sikh martyrdom that happened? Guru Arjan Dev, he was captured after a battle with Aurangzeb and brought back to Delhi. So one of the things they did is they brought his sons who were 8 and 12 years old, and in front of him they chopped their limbs and made a mala out of it and made him and his wife wear it. But he remained undeterred. He still said that he didn't cry. He said, "To me, my faith in my Lord is more important." They told him, they gave him an option. "If you convert to Islam, we will not do this." The same thing happened with so many of Guru's disciples, Sikh disciples. They were all walled. There was a wall built around them where they would be starved. And all this happened in front of their parents. But they refused to convert. And they said that it is through our display of strength and faith which will give faith. If we get shaken up, then the entire Bharatvarsha will get shaken up. So we have to show strength in our faith. And he told the disciples, "You don't have to do it." But they said, "No, we will also do it." Mighty. It's incredible. Go back and read about it. The Sikh gurus, how they sacrificed themselves. Guru Arjan Ji, all the Sikh gurus. Incredible. And they didn't cry. Huh? And they said something, I'm forgetting it. I just recently read it. They said something that they thanked the Lord and they said, Lord, you are giving us this opportunity to show our faith. Not everybody gets this opportunity. You are very kind that you have given us this opportunity to show everybody what faith means and to save the rest of Bharatvarsha from converting to Islam. Incredible. Vishwamitra, Lord Hanuman couldn't help but bring an element of admiration in his voice. He said smilingly, Vishwamitra wanted to end the suffering of humanity at once. He wanted to bring everyone at par with the Rishi community. After Trishanku experiment failed, he spent many years in inventing new methods of spiritual evolution. And when he invented one, he quickly found his experiment subject in the form of none other than the king Amrisha. Amrisha was the successor of Satyavrata or Trishanku. So Satyavrata was his name before he became Trishanku. Okay. Before starting this experiment, he invested a lot of time in preparing Amrisha mentally, intellectually and spiritually. Finally, a date was fixed for the experiment, the first ever Moksha Yajna. Vishwamitra invited Amrisha in his ashram for a final satsang before the Yajna. In the satsang, he explained, O Amrisha, a most common thought which arises in human mind about moksha is, what will happen to my body if my soul departs from the mortal worlds? What will happen to my family and my loved ones? I want to reassure you that your body will not die. A visitor soul will come and occupy your body. Your loved ones will notice no difference in your body. Everything will go on as usual. When Amrisha was looking confident and determined about the yajna, Rishi Vishwamitra pulled a trick to bolster the chances of success of the experiment. So can you tell me, now that you have understood it, why will others not notice any difference? When a visitor soul comes and occupies your body, why will nobody know the difference?
Thoughts are same as previous person.
Not really.
They are seeing the body. They are seeing only the body, not understanding.
No, but why does the soul, a soul comes with so many its own karmas, right? So why will it, when it comes, why will it, it will behave differently, correct? If you have seen paranormal experiences, if another soul comes into the body that it possesses, its complete, this thing will change.
Coming from the other loka where it has like neutral, right, zero, doesn't have any positive or negative karma soul there, right? It is like a plain soul that comes in.
No.
No.
So the reason for that is that when another soul comes and takes up any body, it will take up the karma and desire of this body.
Body does not have any karma. Our soul creates.
No, that soul will come and take up the see, what makes you is because your karma desire.
Correct.
It's when you go and ask in Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, saying, I want to take up this birth. Once you leave that Mukti Sagara, then you go into endless birth, rebirth till you go back to Mukti Sagara. Right? So, but in between, if you move, you can also move, like Lord Hanuman has taught us.
Yeah.
You can move from one body to another body, right? So the question is, once you leave your body and another soul comes and takes up this body, then why will nobody be able to make out any difference? It's because that this soul, whichever the visitor soul is, it takes up your karma desire, and once it takes up your karma and desires, then all your memories become its memories.
Yeah, it takes up the linga code.
It takes up the linga code. What is the linga code?
Which
has the information of karma and desire.
That's it. Karma desire. So karma desire has the information of all the memories. So once it comes, it will start behaving like as if it is you. It will not remember the difference that it was once a soul. You understand? If you remember, there was a chapter where it comes from one Maloka, where they invite that girl who was being raped, who was raped, and she says, I don't identify myself with this body, because she was feeling very grina. What is grina? Disgusted of her body. So she says, I don't want my body. So in order to cure her, Lord Hanuman asks one more loka, one more body, which was just below Vishnu Loka, in Brahma Loka.
She was leaving.
No. He asks one soul in Brahma Loka to come. In Brahma Loka also she is an advanced soul, because it takes quite a lot of spiritual evolution to go back to Brahma Loka. The only thing is, they are not able to conquer their ego. Their sense of identity is still there. So she comes, that soul comes from Brahmaloka and occupies her body. Once she occupies her body, she takes up the karma desire coordinates or the linga code of this girl. And because she is a little advanced soul, she starts healing. And once she has healed, now this original girl, her soul is out of the body. She sees that, hey, my body has healed. And the memories also have healed. The pain also has healed. Now she wants to come back. Now there is a conflict between that visitor soul and this soul. Both say, no, this body is mine. Then Lord Hanuman comes and reminds her that, listen, you are an advanced soul from Brahmaloka. You have to go back. So she finally listens to him and goes back. And then that girl's soul comes back and occupies her body. So that's the reason why Vishwamitra is telling Amrisha that don't worry. If you want to leave your body and go, you will have no problem. Someone else will come and he will behave just like you. Nobody will know the difference. In case of an evil possession, where another spirit has come and occupied, which has taken possession, you can think of it as hostile takeover. When a hostile takeover happens, then it will reassert, it will push your soul away and it will do what its karma and desire is. It has the desire to drink. You were coming to the temple praying to the Lord, this evil spirit will say, no, I don't want to have anything to do with the Lord. It will turn away from God. Because it's an evil spirit. It wants to fulfill its desires in order to move on from the spirit world or the spirit dimension. Pret Yoni. Understand? Rishi Vishwamitra said, Amrisha, if the need arises, what can you sacrifice in order to attain moksha? Amrisha replied, my body is my most precious possession, Gurudev. I am ready to sacrifice my body. What more can I, your son? Rishi Vishwamitra said immediately, your only son Rohitashva, isn't he dearer to you than yourself? Amrisha's face turned pale. He unknowingly gave Rishi Vishwamitra a look of deepest loathing. Rishi Vishwamitra ignored it and said indifferently, there may arise a need for sacrifice of your son. Arrange for his presence at the venue on the day of the yajna. Amrisha didn't utter a word. He communicated only with gestures till the satsang ended and then rushed to his palace. Yajna was only 4 days away. He immediately sent Rohitashva to an unknown place with his most trusted soldiers. He strictly ordered them, no one in this world should get any wind of the whereabouts of Rohita till the yajna is over. Make sure that Rohita is nowhere near our kingdom on the day of yajna. Even if you receive any communication in my name, don't entertain it. Anybody who attempts to bring Rohita near the yajna venue should be treated as an enemy, even if it is me. That is what Rishi Vishwamitra wanted. Finally, the day of yajna arrived. Rishi Vashishta was also present in the venue in his capacity as the family guru of Ambarisha. In fact, Rishi Vishwamitra was conducting this experiment under the active encouragement of Vasishta. In the beginning of the yajna, Vishwamitra said to Yajman Ambarisha, "O Yajman, let us express our deepest gratitude to Yajman Ambarisha as well, and to Rishi Vishwamitra. O Yajman, you are going to face your worst nightmares now. No matter what you see happening with your near and dear ones, ignore it as a bad dream. No matter what happens, don't step back. Keep advancing towards me and complete 12 steps. Trust only me and no one else. Will you?" "Yes, I will," said Ambarisha anxiously. Rishi Vishwamitra looked deeply into his eyes and said, "Do I have your word?" Ambarisha replied loudly, "Yes, Gurudev, I give you my word that I will trust only you and nothing else." As the yajna proceeded, Ambarisha's soul stepped out of his body. The grip of Maya intensified. He saw his son Rohita in the yajna venue, preparations going on for his sacrifice. Vishwamitra thought this trick would work here. He said, "This is not your son Ambarisha. This is just an illusion. You know very well that your son is not here, don't you?" Ambarisha was sure of himself, but his son was far away from his kingdom, under the watch of his trusted soldiers. He got convinced that what he was seeing in the venue was just an illusion. As his soul took one more step ahead, Maya exerted even greater force. Now he saw his son's neck being fixed on the sacrificial altar. Smoky thoughts erupted. Maybe Rishi Vishwamitra found the hiding place of my son and brought him here. Rishi Vishwamitra said, trying to douse Ambarisha's doubts, "O Ambarisha, what you are seeing is not real. There is no human sacrifice taking place in the venue. Your son is not here. If the need arises of a human sacrifice, we have Rishi Ajagrata's son Sunahas Pena here. We do not need your son's sacrifice." Rishi Ajagrata was present in the venue as a volunteer to complete the yajna in the likely event of Ambarisha's soul not taking off. His son Sunahas Pena was also present, but not for sacrifice, but just to assure Ambarisha that Rohita's sacrificial substitute had been found. The force of Maya was so powerful that Ambarisha succumbed to it. His soul came back to his body. The nightmare ended. He realized that there was no sacrifice taking place in the yajna. It was merely an illusion. Rishi Vishwamitra was disappointed as his experiment had failed. This is the power of illusion, O Mathans. When you are into it, you have every reason to believe that only this is real. Only realized souls can recognize this illusion. That is why Moksha Yajna is successful only for realized souls who anyway don't need a Yajna to get Moksha. After the completion of Yajna, Rishi Vishwamitra walked away from the venue, disappointed. King Ambarisha fell at the feet of his family guru Vashishta. He said in a hoarse voice, "Gurudeva, I have lost my one and last chance of moksha. I feel like ending my life so that I can successfully complete the yajna in my next life. You have only exhausted the shortcut option, Ambarisha," Rishi Vasishta said. "You failed because you didn't keep your word to Vishwamitra. If you strive hard to keep your word, your life itself will become a yajna. Stand up and forget and forgive yourself for whatever happened in the past. Free yourself from all guilt and become a new man from now on. A man who keeps his word, come what may. From today I give you a new identity. You will be called Harisha hereafter, King Harishchandra, because they come from the Chandra dynasty. Chandra Vamsha, right? Rama was also called Ramchandra. So Harisha was called Harishchandra. From now on, your life itself is a moksha yagya. Even if your life turns into a nightmare, never dishonor your word. Your life will be successful and you will get moksha. Once King Harisha heard the voice of a woman in distress as he was passing through a jungle. Now the story of Harishchandra starts. He followed the voice only to be trapped by a group of nishadas. They had abducted him only with the intention of stealing his valuables. But when they realized that they had abducted the king, they decided to kill him. They feared that if they let him go, he would come back with his army and destroy them. Rishi Vishwamitra negotiated with those nishadas and saved his life. Harisha stayed in the ashrama of Rishi Vishwamitra for a day. Rishi taught him how to identify the traps of nishadas. Before departing, King Harisha instituted, Rishivar, you not only have saved my life, but have also given me the precious knowledge about nishada traps. I wish to give you dakshina. Knowing that Harisha had vowed to keep his word, Rishi Vishwamitra saw an opportunity of expediting the process of moksha for Harisha's soul. He said happily, O king, I didn't save your life to get anything in return from you. However, like any guru, I would happily accept a dakshina for the knowledge I have imparted to you. Do I have your word that you will give me any dakshina I ask from you? Yes, Rishivar, you have my word, Harisha said without hesitation. Rishi Vishwamitra said coldly, I ask that on every Amavasya, which is new moon day, you give all your possessions to me. You will work hard enough to earn your new possessions so that you have something to give me on every Amavasya. I will come to you every Amavasya to seek my dakshina. True to his words, King Harishchandra gave up his kingdom and all his possessions on Amavasya. It was painful for a king to become a beggar at once. He mustered up the strength to bear it by thinking, this is not real. This is just a bad dream and it shall pass. King Harisha migrated to the city of Kashi with his wife and child. By the time he found some work at a potter's place, next Amavasya was near. He realized that he hadn't earned any possession for donating to Rishi Vishwamitra. As a last minute effort, to earn some gold instantly, he sold himself to the slavery of a Chandala and started working under him in the cremation ground. It was painful for a former king to work as a slave of a Nishada, but he bore the pain courageously thinking, this is just a bad dream and it shall pass. Lord Hanuman. On Amavasya, Rishi Vishwamitra again came collecting his donation, and as promised, Harisha gave up all the gold he had got from the Chandala. Chandala had already paid him upfront. There was no hope of getting any gold from him in future. Next Amavasya was a month away, but Harisha was already getting worried about his next donation. He put all his faith in God and kept working hard in the cremation ground. No miracle happened. Next Amavasya drew near and he had nothing to donate to Rishi Vishwamitra. His wife was working at the potter's place where it was difficult to even earn food for herself and her child. To earn quick gold, she sold herself into slavery to a rich Nishada. When she came to give gold to Harisha in the cremation ground, his heart stopped. He lost sensation in his legs. His eyes stopped blinking. He stared at her without uttering a single word. She kept the gold with him and left. My queen, a slave, this harsh reality had drawn Harisha to the brink of losing his mental balance. He found the courage to bear this reality merely in this thought, it is a bad dream and it shall pass. Amavasya came, so did Vishwamitra, and Harisha gave the gold to him. Vishwamitra noticed that Harisha's soul had become detached from his body. His soul had become a distant observer of what was happening to his physical body and its surroundings. 6 days after Amavasya, Harisha saw his wife on the entrance of the cremation ground with the corpse of her son in her lap. A normal father would break down instantly upon seeing the dead body of his child, but Harisha didn't. He was taking life as if it was a bad dream. He thought he was in a nightmare waiting to wake up to a bright and happy day. Neither Harisha nor his wife had anything to offer as a fee for the cremation of their son. The Chandala didn't let her wife enter the ground. So she sat at the entrance with the dead body of her son lying in front of her. The entire day passed. So did the dreadful night. If it were an illusion, it was definitely the most painful illusion Maya could design. Maya could not force Harisha to break his vow. At the break of dawn, Maya admitted defeat. Harisha's soul got moksha. A visitor soul from Vishnuloka descended and occupied Harisha's soul. Nobody noticed the difference or the change of the soul of Harisha's body. He indeed woke up to a happy and bright day in his palace. His son Rohitashva was sleeping peacefully beside him, and so was his queen. He strolled in his room thanking the Almighty that the dream had ended. Lord Hanuman concluded his talk of this Charan Puja session and the assembly broke up. In view of the frequent requests from devotees to obtain the chapters online, we are going to release all the deciphered chapters online soon. If you all wish to get the chapters online, please register and also.
So basically, Ambarishan soul iralla. Ambarishan soul will leave. It attains moksha.
When?
The Harisha soul.
Yeah.
But ನಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಮೂವಿಲೆಲ್ಲ ಹೆಂಗೆ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ ಹೇಳಿ, ರಾಜಾ ಹರಿಶ್ಚಂದ್ರ ಮೂವಿ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ, ಸತ್ಯ ಹರಿಶ್ಚಂದ್ರ ಮೂವಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಂಗೆ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ ಹೇಳಿ, ಫೈನಲಿ ಪಾಸ್ ದ ಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂತ ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ. ಬಟ್ ವಿ ನೆವರ್ ನ್ಯೂ ದಟ್.
Oh, I think with this we will conclude the chapter, and I want you all to go back and think about your own lives. I'm also going to do the same. We see that there is a lot of pain and suffering in our life. So think of everything that happens, whether there is good happening, the best of things that is being given to you, or the worst of things that is happening in front of you. Family, friends, your own self, everything happened to you, think of it as a bad dream. And keep telling yourself, if it is a good dream, think of it as a good dream. If it is something good that's happening to you, think of it as a good dream. If something bad is happening to you, think of it as a bad dream. But just remember that how that Raja Harishchandra's soul became an observer to everything that is happening. Let us also take this lesson that we should also be just an observer to everything that is happening in our lives. And this is the second path of attaining moksha, being just an observer. Mindfulness of just being an observer. Jai Shri Ram.